Yeah. Excellent. She's getting connected. Hi, Cherie. Are you there? Hello. 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 Hey, Bob. No, still can't hear you. That's all right. Yeah, all good.
Hello, how are you? Sorry, yeah, sorry. I was just sending you. Good, thank you. Thanks for the link. No, I mustn't have registered, sorry, but anyway, I'm in.
Oh, good. Oh, so you got in through the Facebook group. I'm hoping
Yes.
that the one that I sent on email has worked, but that's okay. However you get in, you get in. It's all good. I'll take you however I can get you all. That's brilliant. Excellent. Okay, hopefully, can everybody see me and hear me okay? If you want to give me a thumbs up or a hello, yeah, Barb can see me. Excellent. Cool. No one's got their cameras on. What's the go? You know how I love cameras on.
I'm just eating my dinner.
You're eating.
I'm eating my dinner too.
What's your excuse, Lisa?
I'm sick as a dog. You really don't.
Oh no. Okay, all right. Everyone's sick. My God, it's getting around, isn't it? Shocking at the minute. I'm just sort of recovering today. I've had a big cry today, so I think I've snotted myself out. So it's been like there's about 5 planets in retrograde at the moment. So all of the feelings are feeling at the moment. So, and Barb, I know you're with me because Barb messaged me today and she's like, whenever you do your card pull and you say what you're feeling, she's like, I'm right there with you. Like it happens to me as well. So like, yeah. So if you're feeling particularly spicy this week, it's because there's like 5 different planets in retrograde. There's solar flares. It's all happening. So that's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. But yeah, I've I've had a shocker of a week, but I am here. I am on fire. I'm ready to rock and roll. So it's going to be lots of fun tonight. Excellent. Okay, so who is all keyed up to be a confrontation queen? Yay! Who loves confrontation? Oh, God. Nothing puts a bigger stone in the pit of your stomach than knowing that you need to have a uncomfortable conversation with someone. And this masterclass was really inspired by another book group that I was in. One of the girls said that she had an uncomfortable conversation with one of her work colleagues, and this work colleague and someone who systematically has peed off everyone in her workplace. And she said, I finally had the guts to get up and say something. She goes, my voice was shaking, but I did it. And I'm like, that's the green light that I needed to wait for to respond to, because I'm a manifesting generator. I am here to respond to things. And that was the green light that I needed to respond to. I'm like, yep, that's what my next masterclass is about. So hence where Confrontation Queen was born. So before we begin, could everyone pop in the chat where they are calling in from? Because I like to know how far around the country I've managed to get to. I think I've gotten as far as like as high as Mildura and as far, oh no, Darwin. I've got up as far as Darwin and as low as Adelaide. So I think we've got a little bit of the country covered so far tonight. So excellent. We've got Melbourne, we've got Adelaide, we've got Darwin, we've got Mildura. Brilliant. Lots of wonderful people here. I'm just checking my messages, making sure no one else is trying to get in. Lovely, lovely. So just as a reminder for everyone who comes in, if you are watching on your computer, just make sure that you've got your browsers closed down. If you're anything like me, you've got all the tabs open. So close them down so you don't get any pop-ups. There's no distractions. Has everyone got something to drink and something to nibble on? I think Patricia and Nikki are having dinner at the moment. Pamela will be home soon and will have a glass of wine in her hand, I'm sure. So make sure you've got something in front of you so you're not distracted and won't run away from me, because I want you all to myself for the next hour. So feel free to share and comment in the chat box. So use the chat box as much as you like. if you've got a share, just put a share in the chat box, or just, I mean, it's a little group tonight, so just take yourself off mute and just slide on in and just ask your questions, okay? Because there's not many of us. You're not gonna upset anyone. So yeah, just jump in and ask your questions, because there's no such thing as a silly question. If you have got a question, chances are someone else has got it rolling around in their head as well. So be bold and be brave and jump on in with those questions. I will be opening up for a Q&A afterwards if you've got any questions. So if there's anything that you think would benefit the rest of the group, make sure that you jot it down, but hopefully we can move through them as the class goes on, so it's relevant for whatever's going on at the moment. Oh, Pam's home, got her wine, yay. And yeah, just if my internet dies, which it famously has done quite during a couple of masterclasses, just hang around for 5 minutes until either my computer reboots or it all comes back again. If I'm any longer than 5 minutes, I will reschedule the masterclass for Thursday. But as I said, we have got high winds forecast in my area for tonight. So, and we've got a lot of trees that blow down. So yeah, if it happens to happen, we will reschedule. But yeah, any longer than 5 minutes, we'll reschedule. If not, just wait around. Nikki has agreed to do the Dance of the Seven Veils while we wait. Now that camera's definitely not coming on. She's like, what? No, Nikki, we've talked about this. That's it. And Patricia's going to be a backup dancer. So yeah. So that is what will happen. So I think I've covered everything. So without further ado, let's jump into this masterclass. So yeah, so hands up, show of hands, who is a big fan of confrontation? Wah, wah. Okay, let's show of hands, who is afraid of confrontation? Excellent. Who wants to get better at being a confrontation queen? Brilliant. I'm so glad you're all here then. Excellent. Me. Excellent. The chat blowing up. Love it, love it, love it. Excellent. So we'll just got to stretch out my screen a little bit so I can share. All righty. So get my slides on the ready. All right. Okay. So for those of you who don't know me, and I think most of you do, but there might be some people. Here we are. Hang on. I've got one person who can't jump in. Hang on just one moment. Let me just copy the link and reply. And let's paste. There we go. Cool beans. We'll try that. For those of you who don't know me, who might be watching the replay, I think everyone here knows me fairly well. But for those who don't, I am Kerry. I am 48-year-old wife and mother of 2 teenage humans. I am also a human design specialist. I have been in the human design space for 3 years now. So I am just really getting into really learning and embodying my human design, because it can take anything from 3 to 7 years to fully understand and start embodying your human design. I'm also a pro coach with the International Coaching Institute. Business owner. I've got a couple of businesses on the go, as well as a registered nurse, as well as a boss personal stylist. So typical manifesting generator, have a lot of feathers in my cap and like doing lots and lots of things. So my main passion though, like what really lights my sacral, is helping women or guiding women to live the big lives that they were designed for, because we are all here for impact. And my passion is helping women find their voice, find themselves, especially women who have been lost in the roles of, mother, work colleague, wife, all the things, helping them to find out who they are again. So the quote that drives me the most, when I heard it, I thought, this is what I do, and why I do it. So people live lives of quiet desperation and go to their graves with their songs still in them. So that quote, it breaks my heart every time I say it, because it smacks of the truth. Like so many people throughout my life I've watched, and I can feel that they have a song in them, but they've gone to their grave with their light still shining in them. I think it's the worst possible thing that could happen to anyone, is to go to their grave with their song still in them. So I have determined that that is not going to happen on my watch. Thank you very much. Any woman who reaches out and wants to be in my world and invites me into their lives, I want them to be the fullest expression of who they are. And I don't want them to apologize for it. I want them to stand in their authenticity and their strength and say, this is who I am, and I'm not going to apologize for it. This is my message. This is what I'm here to do. So that's what I am super, super passionate about. So if you enter my world, if you are here, that's my big why. This is why I do what I do. So my other big why is, why did I create this masterclass? And let me hear you go 1, 2, 3. Oh, with cute little Kerry with her little Torrens slippers on. The Adelaide girls will go, oh yeah, the Torrens slippers, yeah. So when I was learning this content, what I realized, it was really starting to trigger some core memories for me. So what I realized was these memories and these experiences that I had, especially in childhood, because as you may or may not know, from birth to 7 years old, every experience that you have, every belief that you have been raised with, goes straight into your unconscious core memories. So everything that I was witnessing, everything that I was learning, everything that I was seeing weren't great. And when I was kind of rehashing and reliving these memories again, it just fired me up so much as to why this work is so bloody important, because the ramifications of what I saw and witnessed back then echoed, like they've echoed right up into my 40s. So it makes this work really, really important, because yeah, what you learn in your childhood, it echoes. It echoes. And one in particular, as I was learning all of these things that I'm going to share with you tonight, was, I remember very, very vividly, I think I would have been about 8, 9 years old. And I remember watching a couple that were very close to me. It wasn't my mum and my dad, but it was family members. And they were having an argument. And I remember we were about to go somewhere, me and the female part of this couple, and she was having an argument with her husband. And he was, and I did a Facebook post about it, he was relentless in his gaslighting of her, in his torment of her. She was trying to be reasonable and trying to be calm, and he was just at her, wouldn't give her a minute to get her thoughts together, and was relentless. And I remember my little 8-year-old self standing up and saying, why don't you just leave her alone? And he's like, you stay out of it. And he was just a bully. And I vowed and declared in that moment, I am never, ever, ever going to be spoken to like that. And I'm never going to not know what to say, because that poor female relative of mine, she was so worked up that she couldn't get her words out. And as I was learning all about this communication and all about how relationships work, that it brought back that memory. And I thought, whoa, this has actually really stirred this up for me. So it really, I don't want any woman that I come across to be so stuck for words and so entrenched in emotion that she can't actually express what it is that she wants to say, and can't stand in her own strength, and can't express her needs because she's so discombobulated by emotion and what's going on around her. And I don't want her to be in a relationship in the first place where she is in that position. That's really important as well. So it stirred up a bit of that stuff. So the knock-on effect of that was, for much of my marriage, look at us. Ah, another 1, 2, 3. Ah. So unfortunately, for a big chunk of my marriage, I didn't and I couldn't communicate very effectively with my husband. I was always feeling emotional. I was always being sarcastic. I was always looking to point the finger and blame him and everyone else around me for why things weren't going well. And I felt very resentful. And the reason why I felt so resentful and I was sarcastic is because I didn't have the emotional intelligence to know what I was feeling. So I just didn't have the words for my emotions because it had never been modeled to me. And it had never, yet no one had ever taught me that my emotions were okay. So I really had no idea what I was feeling at any given time. So how on earth could I express it to him, what I was feeling? So I didn't have the emotional intelligence and I didn't know what I needed. If I had a name for my emotions, then I might have been able to decode the underlying need that emotion was covering up. And then I could have expressed it, but I didn't know it. It was never modeled to me. What was modeled to me as a child was you give your partner the silent treatment, you get in a shitty mood, and then you give your partner the silent treatment and hope to hell that he figures it out. And in the meantime, just be a real bitch about it and be really resentful and then make it his fault that he doesn't know why you're shitty. Can anyone relate to that? Yeah, exactly. That was what was modeled to me. I actually thought, like when I got married at 26 years old. I actually thought that marriage was, hi Heps, that marriage was being consistently in a shitty mood with each other for like 20, 30, 40 years. That's what I thought marriage was. And I thought it was quite strange to me when we were happy. Isn't it bizarre? It's very bizarre. So to avoid uncomfortable conversations, because I didn't know what I wanted or needed anyway, I just didn't say anything, became resentful, frustrated, angry, and a bit of a bitch, to be perfectly fair, to myself and to my poor husband. So now that I know better, now that I've started diving into this work, I try to do better. And I say I try to do better because I am not perfect. I know, newsflash, I'm glad you're all sitting down. I'm not perfect. I vow and declare I probably never will be. But when I see myself doing these things and like I'm a little bit like a cat as well. If my feelings are hurt, I'll slink away in a corner and I don't want to be touched. Thank you very much. But when I find myself doing these things, I pull myself up on it and I try and do better. And that's the thing with this work. Like, I don't want you guys to do this masterclass and go, right, I know everything now and be the best confrontation queen in the world. Like, it's not going to happen. But if you can do like 1% better, 2% better, 5% better than what you would have done before, that's all I'm after. And consistency and integration of this work is the key. So that's what I'm after. So I'm probably, I would have to say, maybe 30%, 40% better than what I was. So that's progress. Everyone's happier, including me and hubby. So can anyone relate to that story that I just shared about not knowing what they feel, so not saying anything and then getting resentful? Yep, cool. Excellent, good. I've got a few there. Brilliant. Okay, so let's start diving into the good and juicy stuff. So thank you. Excellent. Cherie said totally. Brilliant. So let's get into it. So what is confrontation? What is it? Just so we're on the same page, I like to give a definition of what I mean by confrontation. So the generalized theme of confrontation is a hostile or argumentative situation or meeting between opposing parties. So it's two opposite opinions coming together to thrash it out, basically. So a dispute, a fight, a battle, opposing ideas, beliefs, opinions. So hopefully we could, if it's just opposing ideas, beliefs, and opinions, hopefully we could come together and compromise of some sort. But when we think of confrontation, it's usually loud, It's usually uncomfortable. Someone usually ends up in tears, and it's never pretty, or it never feels like it's going to end pretty. And that's really a lot of the reason why a lot of us don't dive into confrontation in the first place. So here's the next question. Why do we find confrontation so hard? I mean, we're all grown adults. We should be allowed to have our own ideas, and we should be able to express differing opinions like grown-ups, right? No, because it scares us shitless, right? But from a human design perspective, because I'm always looking through a human design lens, I'll start talking about why from a human design perspective, why do we find it so difficult? So from a human design perspective, we can find it difficult to express ourselves just in general if we have an undefined throat center, or if we have a undefined or open emotional solar plexus. So I think everyone who is on the call, I think actually has a defined throat, because Barb's a Manny Gen, Patricia's a Manny Gen. No, Nikki, you don't have a defined throat. Yours is undefined. Lisa would be defined because she's a Manny Gen. Cherie's, yours is defined, and Pam's is defined. Yes.
I'm definitely undefined.
Yes, you're definitely undefined. Yes, because you're our only generator, I think, in the place. And yeah, Heps is the sounding board. Pam's a sounding board. So yeah. Yeah, okay, Sasha. My cat is busting for attention. She has definitely got a defined throat center as my cat. So yeah, so Nikki's is the only person who has got an undefined throat, and that plays out to the percentages fairly well. So 38% of people have an I actually think it's closer to 29% actually have an undefined throat center. So not very many people have an undefined throat center. So what an undefined throat center means is that when your throat center is colored in, so if you're looking at your human design chart and it's colored in, it means that you've got consistent access to your communication energy. So people who have got defined throats, they generally have a fixed way of communicating, and they learn to depend on that fairly well, and that energy is fairly consistent. They can consistently rely on that energy. But when you have an undefined throat center, the energy it's not consistent to you. You will take in and amplify the communication and throat energy of the people around you. So for someone like Nikki who has an undefined throat, it's important that she feels comfortable with the people who she's around, because she's going to take on their communication style. And if you put pressure to speak on an undefined throat, you will often find that inauthentic things come out. And you'll go, and then go, oh, what did I say that for? Or she may take on the things that other people around her want to say, but don't. And there's a reason why they don't. But because Nikki's taking it on and amplifying it, it just kind of comes out. So that could be a reason why some people have trouble communicating, because they've either mucked it up because inauthentic things come flying out. So you think, I'm just going to be quiet and not say anything, thank you very much, because I get in trouble. So that could be one reason why we find uncomfortable conversations so hard. Hey, Pam. Oh, there she is, wine in hand. That a girl. Also, your emotional solar plexus. So when you're looking at your chart and this is undefined, in 50% of us, it will be undefined. So Cherie's is undefined, Pam's is undefined. Lisa, I think yours might be as well. Patricia's is defined. Barb, I think you're defined. I think. How's me looking at everyone else's chart? I'm not sure if yours is defined, Nikki. I think you are emotional, aren't you? Yeah. So 50% of us have an undefined or open emotional solar plexus. So what that means is when you have an undefined or open emotional solar plexus, you are taking on the emotional energy of the people that you're around and amplifying it, making it bigger. So that makes you very empathic. and it can make you sometimes feel engulfed in other people's emotions because you feel it twice as much as what they do. So the consistency to your emotions isn't there. You don't have consistent access to your emotions all the time. And of course, you're emotional, everyone is, but you will feel and amplify other people's emotions more than what they will. So when you feel engulfed with emotion, it's very hard to speak from a logical place when emotions are high. So that could be, from a human design perspective, why people find it difficult to have uncomfortable conversations. Okay. But other reasons why, for those people who are not into human design, but why wouldn't you be? Because it's freaking awesome. But other reasons why we find it so hard is thousands of years of evolution. Us women, especially, are designed to get along with other women. Because when we were living in caves and our husbands were out hunting saber-toothed tigers and dinosaurs and all the things, we were in the caves cooking the dinners and looking after the children. And we lived in communities where we all had to get along. And we needed to get along with the other women in our tribe, because if we fell sick or if we died or if our husbands died, we had to get along with other people so they would look after our children or they would look after us. So we needed to keep the peace. So thousands of years of evolution of us being nice kind of works against us when it comes to having uncomfortable conversations. Does that make sense? Yeah. Excellent. So evolution is against us for having these uncomfortable conversations. Uncertain outcomes. We don't know what that other person's going to say or do. We don't know if they're going to get angry. We don't know if they're going to accept what we say. We don't know if they're going to get emotional and upset with us. We don't know if they're going to start to cry. We like to know what's going on. We like to know what's happening next. That's why you ladies love my tarot cards, because you want a heads up. You want to know what's happening. And when outcomes are uncertain, I don't want to know. I want to be, our brain loves safety. And if we can predict what's going to happen, then we will lean towards that. Thank you very much. Doesn't matter if we don't voice our opinions, as long as we keep the peace. So that's another reason why we find these conversations so difficult. So Patricia said, technically then I should be able to do it, but evolution, child. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, conditioning, childhood conditioning and evolution, definitely. Definitely, Patricia, plays a big role. So they didn't eat us. I need more context than that, sure, in the chat. So uncertain outcomes, lack of control. We don't know what the other person's going to come back at us with, so we would just rather not have the conversation. Thank you very much. The other reason why we find confrontation so hard is good old-fashioned fear. What? Oh, yeah, be nice to our tribesmen. Absolutely, yeah. It could have been cannonballs. Absolutely true. So yeah, the big 4 or 5 fears that we have is fear of not being loved, fear of not being liked by other people, fear of not belonging, fear of being judged, and fear of not being able to handle it if any of the above happens. So we all have these fears, and this comes from childhood. We needed to be loved. We needed to belong to the family unit. All of this comes down to survival. So fear of people not liking us. Oh, we're going to get kicked out of the tribe. Can't have that. Need to smooth things over. Need to people please. Need to do whatever it is we need to do to keep the peace. So that is why we find those conversations so uncomfortable. And childhood conditioning, whatever has been modeled to you. If there has been big emotional charge around confrontation, if you have seen family members in your childhood have confrontations and it's gone to hell in a handbasket, emotions are high, people get upset, there's crying, there's yelling, there's disharmony, it feels awful. If you had witnessed that as a child, you're not going to put your hand up to confront anyone. No way. You're going to avoid it like the plague. And rightly so too, because survival was dependent on it in your childhood. So these are the reasons why we find uncomfortable, confrontational conversations so hard? Can anyone relate to one or all of those? Absolutely. So when we sense the discomfort of needing to have a conversation where your opinion is not going to match the other person's, we go into fear. And this is the core essential stuff that goes on when we go into fear, when we're scared of something. We go into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And everyone's heard of fight or flight. Most people have heard of freeze, but fawn you may not have heard of. So when we are scared, we will go into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So we will fight. We will get highly reactive. We'll get angry and we'll get emotional. So that's you're fighting your way out of the conversation. So you'll probably find that the masculine energy is one that will tend to go towards anger and reactivity. Flight, so you will just want to get away from the situation. So you'll just avoid it so no one knows how you feel. And that could have the result of making the other person think, oh, they don't want to have that conversation, so I must be right then. They're scared to argue with me because I'm right. Ooh, that would irk me. So we just flee. We could freeze when you can't find the words. And so you just don't say anything because you don't want to humiliate yourself. Or you could fawn. So fawning is people pleasing. Oh, whatever you say. No, I agree. Yeah, no, whatever you think. So we'll avoid it. We'll people please. We'll agree to keep the peace. So whatever it is, the one that you will go into when you are in fear will probably be the thing that you found in your childhood worked for you. So if you were the good girl in your childhood, you'll probably lean towards fawning. If you were the rebel, you might go into flight. So depending on what worked for you in childhood that kept you alive and survived, that's probably your go-to behavior when it comes to confrontation. Does that relate to a lot of people? Yeah, perfect. Excellent, excellent. And you can absolutely feel free to journal around all of this. Like, what would your style be? What is it that you recognize within yourself when there's an uncomfortable situation? And it's really, really good to have awareness of how you feel in your body and what you feel your compulsion is to lean towards. Would you feel compelled to yell and push the other person away with your words? Or would you feel more compelled to just agree to keep the peace? And that's really good awareness to have for when these uncomfortable conversations come up again and go, oh, I feel that, I sense that discomfort in me. And once you've got awareness of it, then you can start doing something about it. So it's really important that you stay in touch with what you're thinking and what you're feeling throughout the day. Check in with yourself regularly. Because when there's a disrupt, you can sense it. Okay? So what your body does when it goes into fear, and this is why we avoid these uncomfortable conversations or these confrontational conversations so much, because our body does all this crazy shit that feels really, really big. And it actually feels like our lives are in danger because our body has this crazy reaction. So what our body does, so our brain goes, uh-oh, confrontation, go into fear, hit the panic button. So our body does all this stuff. Whoopsie daisy. So our mouth will go dry. We'll get cotton mouth. And that's because your digestive system, all of the blood supply is coming away from your digestive system to go into your muscles to fight or flight. So your mouth will go dry. You'll get short of breath because you need to start breathing rapidly to get oxygen to those muscles so you can run. So short of breath, your heart starts racing because your body's starting to give out adrenaline because it's thinking, shit, you need to run soon because something's going down. So the adrenaline will start pumping, your heart will start racing, your breath will quicken, your mouth will get dry. You'll start getting the shakes because that's what happens when adrenaline is released into your body because it's getting into the muscles to run. You get sweaty. Don't know why that happens, just does. You get nauseous because, as I say, the blood supply is getting taken away from your digestive system because you need to run. No time to digest. And you get tingling in your extremities because the adrenaline's pumping. If you live, just interestingly enough, if you live in that fight or flight for long enough in a stressful situation, like you often find like some women find it hard to get pregnant if they're in high pressure stress situations, because why would you reproduce if you need to run or you're at risk of your life all the time? So interestingly, have you ever heard of like when women would go away on holiday and they'll come back pregnant? It's because the stress levels have like actually dropped for once and they can pop out an egg. So yeah, just interesting to understand what the body does and why it feels so big. So your body will do what the mind tells it to do. So when you think to yourself, oh shit, confrontation, nuh-uh, and it goes fear, 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 your body goes, oh shit, what are we doing? And it will start doing all of this stuff and it will feel really, really big. It will feel like your life is at risk, because back in caveman days, it was. When we hit that fear button, it's because we're going to get eaten by something. So it's a completely primal response. So our body's only focus is survival. So blood supply and focus has gone from our prefrontal cortex, which is executive functioning and decision making, right to our amygdala, which is survival. Don't get eaten is basically what the amygdala is saying. Don't get eaten by anything. And your capacity for thinking logically and rationally has left the building as soon as this fight or flight response kicks in. So you can't have a reasonable conversation when you're in fight, fleas, that's right, freeze or fawn, because it's designed to keep you alive. That's why it feels so big. Can everyone see how that works now? And I think once you really get your head around logically why your body is reacting so severely to you having a hard conversation, this is why. And when you can logically understand it, you can just go, oh, God, it's a drama queen. God, sympathetic nervous system, calm your farm. Like, it's not a big deal, right? So, yeah, I mean, so back in the day, it was a survival thing. Like if a saber-toothed tiger was coming up to us and saying, I'm going to eat you, you're not going to sit there and go, now let me explain to you why it's a really bad idea to eat me, Mr. Saber-toothed tiger. Like, let all my blood rush to my prefrontal cortex so I can reason with you. No, it feels big because it was big. It was our life that depended on it. So our body floods with hormones that say, run, get the hell out of there. And that's why when we have these confrontational conversations, it feels really big in our body. And because it feels so big, we think to ourselves, oh God, this is too big. I'm not going to be able to handle this. I better stop. But once we know why, we can overcome the system. We can override the system, so to speak. So the things we need to know to have these difficult conversations. Oops, gone too far, overshot. Oh my Lord, Kerry. Okay, so what we need to know. We cannot think logically or creatively or reasonably if your heart rate is over 100 beats a minute. Or if you're super fit, maybe 80 beats a minute. So if your resting heart rate is sort of like 60 and below, if it's over 80, your blood's starting to go straight to your amygdala. But if it's over 100, if you're not as fit as you should be, like myself, if it's over 100, forget about it. Your capacity for thinking creatively and logical decision making, out the window. You're not going to be able to do it. So that was very good information to have. And number two, when your emotions are triggered, and running high, intelligence is low. You are going to say things and do things that you're not going to thank yourself for in the morning. Because when emotions are high, intelligence is low. When your emotions are running around, you do not have the capacity to think before you speak. Isn't it fun being in this human body, right? So, before we get into the actual confrontational conversation, it does help to know if the confrontation is coming. If you know that you are having a meeting or you have to have a conversation with someone that you know is going to be uncomfortable, there are a couple of things that you can do to prep yourself before it comes. So this is the pre-work before the difficult conversation. And I would say probably most confrontational conversations, you kind of get a bit of a heads up that you need to have it. Or if you know you need to have it, but you consistently or constantly avoid it, knowing these things might give you a little bit more comfort in moving into these conversations. Okay, so there are a couple of things that you can do. So number one is you can be prepared. You can write down the key points that you want to get across. And I can see Patricia shaking her head. We have had a few conversations around this, around being prepared when needing to have a difficult conversation with someone, or even if you just know that you get tongue-tied with people who you're not familiar with, etc., write down those key points that you would like to get across. If you are having a conversation with someone who you know is a bit of a gaslighter and will keep on trying to turn things around on you and say, that's not how I remember it, no, that's not what happened, by writing down those key points, you can keep on referencing back to those points to keep them on track if you're going to engage with someone like that, which hopefully you won't. So be prepared and write down your key points is a really good way to keep yourself grounded in the actual issue and not get sidetracked. The other thing that you can do is visualize the conversation and embody the feelings that you know are going to come up for you while having the conversation, because that is going to prepare your nervous system. If something is happening for the first time, your nervous system is going to get flooded straight away with all of the awesome cortisol and stress hormones. And that's when all of that fear stuff, those bodily functions are going to start kicking in, and it's going to feel really big. But if you can imagine the conversation and you can imagine what they're going to say and really embody it and just breathe through it as you're embodying the conversation, it's going to prep your nervous system, and the reaction is going to be a lot less if your body knows what's coming. So that's another way that you can help to prep your nervous system before these conversations. So visualize the worst case scenario. If they're going to yell, if they're going to react, if they're going to get upset, visualize the worst case scenario and get your nervous system prepared for it. Go, yeah, if that happens, I'll be okay. If that happens, I'm going to stay really grounded. So recognize how you're going to feel and talk yourself back down. I'm just going to stay really grounded. I'm just going to keep to my points and I'm going to stay really calm. But also visualize it going well as well, because you want to attract that vibration to you as well. We want to attract good things as well. Because if you visualize too much it going bad, guess what will happen? So also visualize it going well. Visualize it going not as bad as what you think it is. Maybe visualize you having the confrontation, but also visualizing coming to the compromise as well. So that's a really good way to help prep your system before a confrontational conversation. So you're in the throes of the confrontational conversation. What's going to happen? So what do we do when it's happening? So step number one is to calm your nervous system down. It is going to want to go into fight or flight. So the first thing we need to do is calm it down. Our bodies will do what our brain tells it to do. Okay? So we need to pump the brakes on that sympathetic nervous system straight away. So we can't control what that person is going to say, and we can't control the situation around us. But what you can always control is your breath. And it doesn't have to be obvious that you're doing this. So pump the brakes on that nervous system response and take 3 slow, deep breaths in through your nose and out through your nose. So let's all do it together now. On the count of 3, breathing in through the nose, out through the nose. In for 3, out for 3. In for 3, out for 3. And straight away, everything just calms down. So this is your way of telling the body, because the body's starting to go, oh, what's going on? When you slow and steady your breathing down and breathe through your nose and not through your mouth, it's your way of going, it's cool, man. Chill. We're good. We're cool. Nothing to worry about here. Nothing to see here. Stay calm. And it will just keep you really grounded, and it will stop those hormones from flooding your system. If you're breathing slowly and calmly, your body's going to go, well, she's not doing this, so I can stay calm. Okay? So that's the first thing that you do. Even if you can't take the 3 slow, deep breaths, if you can just do 1 really consciously, that's only going to take 3 or 4 seconds. Just do that. Okay? So that's step number 1. Step number 2, the formula for a confrontational conversation to keep it on the level of you wanting to communicate what it is that you want to say. Here it is, drum roll. You say, I feel. Because when you say, I feel, when you are looking for compromise over conflict, if you don't want to get into an argument, but you want to get your point across, you start your sentence with, I feel because of So when you say, I feel a certain way because of the situation that you're in, you're speaking from a place of your feelings because of what's happening at the moment. It's not a fault of theirs. It's not, you're doing this to me. Because straight away, defenses go up and they will go on the defense and start attacking, because the best defense is a good offense, right? So you could use that I feel because of for any situation. I feel frustrated because this kitchen is a mess. I feel shut down because you're not allowing me to finish what I'm saying. I feel trapped because you keep on giving me work to do. I feel because of. And that's coming from a place of how you're feeling, not any fault of theirs. Imagine the other way that you would normally say it. This kitchen's always a freaking mess. Why can't you clean it up? Like, probably not going to get the response you want. But if you say, I feel frustrated because this kitchen seems messy a lot, like that's going to come across from, okay, got it. As opposed to, you're a pig. Which is probably, what we want to say, but shouldn't, because we're coming from an emotional place. So if you can remember, I feel because of, that's going to get you a long way in confrontational situations. All you need to do is remember that. So, and when you have these conversations, avoid extremist words. So what we call in the coaching world, universal quantifiers. Don't use words like, you always mess up this kitchen. You never clean up this kitchen. Everybody says you're a pig. Nobody ever cleans up this kitchen. When you use extremes like always, never, everybody, nobody, it comes across as very argumentative, and they can easily find a loophole to argue back. I did clean up the kitchen. I cleaned it back on the 2nd of February, 1978. Don't you remember? Like, that's not never. So they'll find a loophole. So when you use those big extremist words, they're going to use it against you. So if you can remember to stay away from always, never, nobody, everybody, those big generalist words. Okay. So step number 3, express your need in the positive. So when you say, I feel frustrated because this kitchen is a mess, I would love it if you could clean it up, 2 or 3 nights out of the week. So example, I'm feeling unheard because the 2 times I've tried to tell you what I thought, you've interrupted me. I need you to give me a few minutes to state my case. That's how you have a confrontation, because you're saying how you're feeling, you're saying why you're feeling it, and you're saying what the other person can do to help resolve it. Is that really helpful? It blew my mind when I learned this stuff. I'm like, oh my God, yes. And it's only 3 steps you need to remember. Take the breath. I feel because of what you can do for me is. That's all you need to remember. And if you can practice that, so it's your go-to, as soon as that fear response kick in, just go, all right, take a breath. I feel I need. Boom. How hard's that to remember? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. That's how you become a confrontation queen. Breath. I feel because of I need. Boom. Done. So Patricia said, I use this with my sister. She just closes me down and says, I have finished and don't want to discuss. Well, that is, I guess, up to her, which shows maybe she needs to know this formula, because she's obviously shutting down because she doesn't have her own level of emotional intelligence to really understand what it is that she's feeling or how to express it. She does need me. She doesn't realize she needs me. Send her a referral, Patricia. But yeah, but if you can tell her this formula, she might be a little bit more open to having these discussions, because she might just want to shut it down and say, I don't want to discuss it, because she doesn't actually know how to express herself properly, which is really sad. So always remember, with these confrontational conversations, the problem is never the problem. If you think the problem is the problem, you're wrong. The problem is never the problem. Because you will feel something first and then act. So you will feel scared and then you will react. And the reaction won't be from a place of how it is you're really feeling. So it will be a trigger reaction. So the trigger is usually brought on by a deeper issue. So if, like, say, for example, you're having a confrontation with your husband, for example, and he says, right, I can't talk to you like this, I'm leaving. Straight away, you're either going to shut down and go, well, piss off then, get angry, or you're going to go, no, 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 don't leave, because he's brought right into your abandonment issues, and your compulsion is to either shut down or get louder. So the problem is not that he's walking away. The problem is that you fear abandonment, and the compulsion is going to be to grab him and bring him back in, or shut down completely. See how the problem's not the problem. So emotional intelligence is understanding your own emotions and dealing with the primary problem, which is the abandonment, not the fact that he's walking away. So an emotional intelligence happens over time, and it comes from consistently acknowledging and being aware of your emotions and really digging in deep. it's a journey. It is a journey, but it's one well worth taking, because once you know your emotions, then you can decode the underlying needs, and then you can get them met, and you can do it in a really resourceful way. So remember that emotionally immature people seek to win. Like example number 1, when I spoke in front at the start of the masterclass. Immature people, they want to win. They don't care about compromise. They just want to be right. So they will not give you the space and grace to catch your breath and find your words. So if you find that someone is constantly bombarding you, attacking you, gaslighting you, telling you you're wrong, telling you, no, you're not capable of this, they may not be the people who you want to be around, because they are not here for compromise. They're here to win. Okay. Emotionally intelligent people seek to understand. Emotionally intelligent people see the emotion in every conversation and they speak to it. I can see that you're really upset about this. I can see this means a lot to you. I want to understand your point of view. Even if it's just to agree to disagree, I want to understand. That's what emotionally intelligent people do. So be really mindful of who you're engaging with, and you can always walk away. And there are ways to do this as well. If it is someone who you are close to and you want to have a conversation with, so we're talking about partners, children, etc. If you know that your heart rate is getting above that 100 beats per minute threshold, and you know that the conversation is starting to slip away from you because your emotions are starting to run high, you can always say, look, let's just stop. I really want to have this conversation with you, but I actually just need to take a bit of a break at the moment. Can we come back and revisit this in half an hour? I'm not abandoning you. I'm not letting you go, but I just need a minute just to shake this off. So you're not abandoning them because you're telling them that you're coming back, but knowing that your intelligence is low when your emotions are running high, giving yourself a chance to calm down is the best thing that you can do in that moment. Have you ever had an argument with someone and they said, don't you walk away from me? That's the worst thing that they can do, is to keep on engaging you when you're in that situation. So yeah, letting them know that this conversation is important to me and I really want to revisit it, but I just need to calm down for a moment. And if that person means as much to you as you do to them, they're going to allow you that space. Okay. So yeah, be really mindful of who you're engaging with. And no, this was a point that came up when I was doing the preamble to this masterclass. One of the women on the Facebook post said something about she's in customer service, and there was a really aggressive customer. And when it comes to that sort of thing, you need to know who is worthy of your time and energy. And her story reminded me of a time when I had just finished a night duty. This was only just recently, like a couple of months ago. I just finished a night duty. I was one-on-one with this gentleman all night. I had not had a break for 10 hours because he was so sick. There was so much going on with this guy. And as I was finishing the shift, I went up to the desk to say goodbye to my colleagues. And there was another patient up at the desk. And she goes, oh, you people don't care about this job. You're all like, oh, sweetheart, oh, darling, but you don't care about us. And I said, that's not true. I said, I bring my heart into this job every day. And she goes, oh, what bullshit. And I was just like, and I nearly teared up on the spot. It had been a shocking night. And if I didn't give a shit, I would have let that guy just die. And that would have been an easy night for me. But I didn't. And it was like, you know what? You are not even worth my energy, because you've already decided. So I just walked away, because it wouldn't have been a win for anybody had I engaged. So know who is worthy of engaging with. So obviously these people, partner, close family, your children and your best friends, those are the people that you have these conversations with. And hopefully, if they are your partner, if they are your children, if they are your family, they're going to be reciprocal in the respect. Okay, so these people are worth the time and effort. These people are the ones that you say, look, I really want to have this conversation with you, and it's really important that we get to the crux of the issue. So I'm going to come back in 20 minutes and we're going to keep on going with this discussion. Okay, and that's actually from the Gottmans. The Gottmans have researched couples having arguments, and that's the best thing that can happen. What they would do is they would be watching a couple in a room and they would start to get heated. And what they would say is like, oh, guys, can you just stop that conversation there? We're having some technical issues with the camera. And they'd stop arguing because the cameras weren't working. And they'd stop it for like 20 minutes. And then they go, okay, everything's fixed, go back to it. And they would come back into the conversation so much calmer because they'd calm down. Clever Gottmans, right? So know your circle of friends, shall we say. So these guys, you want to have those really good reciprocal conversations with. Then you've got the outside circle. You want to stay friendly and amicable with them because you spend a lot of time with them. So friends, colleagues, people who you work with, who you want to maintain a friendship with, know how much energy to put into those guys. And then obviously the ones who aren't worth as much of your energy or time, mild acquaintances, patients who have had a bad night, whoever, like, you know, don't engage with them because they are not worthy of your time or your energy. Not everyone's entitled to it. So that is how to become a confrontation queen, but there is so much more to this conversation. So when it comes to relationships and communication, we could be here for weeks and weeks and weeks, which comes to my next point is, why do we have trouble expressing ourselves? What was lacking in childhood? Why didn't we get it? Why can't we say what we feel? What's reaction and response? So why are we triggered? How are we triggered? Especially in relationships, because it means so much. Talking about emotional intelligence and regulation, learning all of that stuff. When it comes to relationships, understanding attachment styles. What's a secure attachment? What's an insecure attachment? What does it look like? What are the red flags? What are the green flags? What are the needs within relationships and how to decode them and resolve them? And how do we have better relationships? Communication. What is the gold standard? Like, what is the best way to communicate with partners and children to get the best results? So you can fully express what it is you want to and get your point across and have them be able to do the same for you as well. So you feel fully expressed, but your partner and your children and your close people who are close to you feel like they can be their full selves with you as well. So this is why I have developed my Let's Talk program. So in November, I am releasing a self-paced program called Let's Talk. So it's going to be better relationships through better communication. And we are going to be talking about all of those things. So we're going to be talking about why we don't communicate very well, getting to the crux of childhood issues, triggers and how they work and how to move through them. And then talking about how we can help to regulate our own emotions, how we can help to co-regulate our children's emotions. How do we decode our emotions to a need so we can express it effectively? What are relationship styles? What kind of relationship person are you? Are you a secure attachment for your partner, or are you insecure? Are you avoidantly attached, or are you anxiously attached? Or are you golden? All of these things. So this is really for anyone who has a partner and wants to be better, anyone who has children and wants to communicate better with their children, anyone who is single and planning on having a relationship. Pam's like, those who have jobs and want to communicate more effectively with their colleagues, anyone who is a leader who needs to lead people and effectively communicate with their people, and those who just want to be more effective in expressing their individuality. So pretty much everyone is going to benefit from this program because it is so good. So for this evening, and this offer closes as soon as I hit the end button on this masterclass. So if you feel that this is for you, because this early bird special has been on early bird for a long time now, $397. If you say you're in before the end of this session, I will honor it. But this is going to go for, look, I've said probably $777. It's probably going to be closer to $999 because it's going to have so much stuff in there. At the moment, it is going for $397. And there is a payment plan where you can pay $140 a month for 3 months, and that will have it paid off for you as well by November. So if you feel like this is something that you will benefit from, let me know before the end of this class. When the masterclass ends, it's going to go up to $555. And then when it's released, it's going to go up to whatever price I managed to put on it. So before I shut down the masterclass, does anybody have any questions or anything that they would like to share, or any realizations and aha moments that they would like to share with the group? Crickets, crickets, crickets. I always put the pressure on. I should actually warn everyone and say,
I thought I'd lost you. I think everything that you bring to the table, Kerry, is always like aha moments. So it's very valuable. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Pam. I appreciate you too. No, but it's good. I hope that like that 3-step process for the confrontation, I hope really hits home, because it's like when emotions are high, it's hard to remember. Blah, 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 blah. But if you can just remember, like, breathe, I feel, because of, I know.
Yeah.
If you can remember those 3 things, 3-step process, easy peasy. If you can remember those, if you can practice those, if you know that you're going to have a confrontational conversation, remembering those few things is key, and it's going to get you across.
Exactly. I had one this morning. I had to do a confrontation, and it was exactly like you're explaining it in the car on the way in, you know, that hyperventilating. And then when you're in it and you do the breathing, it's actually never as bad as what you thought it was going to be.
It's always the case. Your mind and your body will catastrophize everything.
That's why I drink.
But yeah, it's never as bad as what you think it's going to be. And I think the important thing too is just remembering that when your body is reacting from fear, knowing that, oh, this is what kicks in when I'm being chased by saber-toothed tigers. I'm not going to be chased by a saber-toothed tiger. I'm just having an uncomfortable conversation. So calm down. Like knowing the process and knowing that it's just overreacting because it's from caveman days, that helps the feelings, like if you are getting those feelings, to not let it stop you from having the conversation that you need to have.
So, Kerry, when the fear is that how the other person is going to react, that they're going to get shitty and all that sort of stuff. How do you calm yourself down from imagining that that's what they're going to do?
Just know that if you stick to that 3-step process as much as you possibly can and keep your breath as calm as possible, and just know that whatever happens, you'll live through it, Like, you'll be okay. If they get upset, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
And when you can expect it and when you can embody it and go, yep, they're going to get upset. I'm probably going to feel a bit upset, but I'm just going to breathe through it and I'll live. By lunchtime, it's all going to be over.
Yeah, so true.
And you can future pace yourself as well. Yeah, knowing by lunchtime the conversation will be done and dusted.
Yes.
Yeah. And that will help you through. Yeah. But yeah, you can never be certain of the outcome. But just know that whatever happens, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Excellent. All right, ladies. Well, thank you for sharing your Tuesday night with me. I appreciate you all so much for being here. And
Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. And if any of you would like that offer, for those who are watching the replay, you've missed the special pricing. Should have been here. But yeah, if you're interested, please let me know. And I will see you all. My pleasure, Lisa. Thank you very much. And I will see you all next week. Well, most of you anyway.
Thanks, Kerry. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay.
No worries.
Bye-bye.
You're forgiven.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.